everybody, thanks for coming back to my channel, Lady of Huntington. I just thought I would jump on and quickly let you know, as I've had a couple of people ask about my MS. With MS, it affects everybody differently. No two people with MS are ever going to be the same. That makes it really difficult for our doctors and neurologists because they're dealing with different people on a daily basis with different and varying symptoms, which is one reason why it's so difficult for people with MS to actually be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I have had my MS, when we look back now, for probably the last maybe 20 years. It wasn't until we moved down to Tasmania, we were in Queensland, that I was actually diagnosed. Now, Tasmania and Canada apparently are two of the places where MS is very prominent. I can never remember if it's because we're further away from or closer to the equator. Now, I guess if I had have listened in geography, I would know the answer to that. So you guys may be able to tell me. So how my symptoms actually started was my hands were getting really, really tingly. I used to play a lot of sports and be extremely competitive with my sports. And when I was actually playing tennis, there was a couple of occasions that I actually hit the ball and my tennis racket went flying, just because, you know, my hands were beginning to become more numb. So yeah, just those couple of things. I actually had gone to the doctor on a couple of occasions. They thought I had carpal tunnel, so I've had a carpal tunnel surgery done. I was then still having problems, and we were about to move down to Queensland, and I was booked in for a second carpal tunnel surgery on the same hand. It wasn't until I said, well, I don't want to be moving mid actually, you know, getting out of having, because it was like a couple of days, so I would have still been not being able to move my hand properly. So I didn't, and we were driving down, and we were each driving a car, so I didn't want to be driving and incapacitated with my hand being wrapped up and whatnot from the surgery. So I put it off, and I said I'll have it done when we actually get down to Tassie. Came down to Tassie, you know, got settled and all the rest of it, and went to a doctor and had another nerve conduction study done because a different doctor, we needed to go through all the same things again, and they said, no, you don't have carpal tunnel. It wasn't until, you know, I was at a physiotherapist's, and he was a neurophysio, and he, although at the time didn't tell me, he was suspecting that I may have had an MS and told me I needed to go back to my GP. He obviously got in touch with my GP and told her this, so she sent me for, you know, further tests and things like that. The day that we went, my husband and I, to find out what those tests had come back from, they said, oh, we thought it may have been MS or motor neurone disease, and you actually don't have either. But we're still looking into it. So, you know, my husband obviously was asking a few more questions and whatnot. We left the office. The following day, I was in a car park in a shopping centre driving, trying to find a park, and the phone rang. And it was that same doctor who we had spoken to those couple of days prior. And he said, asked me where I was, and I told him that I was driving the car. He asked me to park. I parked. And then he proceeded to tell me that, yes, he had a second opinion done on my x-rays and scans and things like that, and unfortunately I had multiple sclerosis. So that's how I was told. So what did I do then? I rang my husband. I actually went into the shops and did my shopping and whatnot, quite, you know, a little bit blasé about it all. And yeah, so that was probably, we've been down in Tassie now since 2010. We're in 2019, 8 years. It was probably about 8 years ago now. Since then, my symptoms and things like that have become progressively worse. I've had some relapses and been on steroids for those relapses and whatnot. And yeah, so that's how it goes with how I was diagnosed with MS and how it actually came about for me. So today, guys, I'm actually feeling a little tired and whatnot because I do have fibromyalgia as well. and arthritis and a few other things that go along with, having lots of pain and whatnot. So today I'm feeling a little bit bleh. So I thought it was probably a very good time to explain to you all about a little bit about MS anyway. So it's where the nerves in your body, they pretty much attack themselves. And I guess that's one reason why everybody with MS has different symptoms, and different things affect different people with MS. So I'm affected by both the cold and the hot weather with my MS. So living in Queensland, I was very tingly and things like that all the time, which of course now we know it was because of my MS. And down here in Tassie, it gets colder, so those days I'm sort of inside warm, but then I can't get too hot because, as you know, when I've been baking and things like that, once I start getting too hot, things turn south as well, and I can't get my words out, and I forget things and drop things and can't feel my hands, even worse than what they, more numb than what they normally are, and things like that. So anyhow, guys, this video has been going for 6 minutes. I think that's probably enough to give you a little bit of a background indication, a background history of how I was diagnosed with my MS and how it affects me. It has, I probably should have told you the different treatments that I've been on. My body has rejected most of those treatments that I've been on, and my body has put on an enormous amount of weight with the tablets and that I've actually been on throughout the course of trying to find a therapy. Here we go in a medication that's going to actually work for me. I was having injections every single day. Then I did the Tysabri, which is an infusion that you go in once a month. That was brilliant. I love that. It was like a little ever-ready battery. By the time it was time to go and get your next infusion, you'd start to slow down and unwind, and everything started to, just pretty much you'd slow down, and then I'd go and have my infusion. I was like, whoa, yeah, here we go again. And that was brilliant. However, my I had this JC virus or levels or whatever it's called, I can't remember now, were very high, and I actually had to stop that immediately because it can cause brain damage if you were to stay on it too long. So that was stopped. I tried Tecfidera, that was terrible. Tried the actual injections that I had every day caused me to have almost like a mini heart attack, that your heart starts racing, your face goes extremely red. It was just horrendous. And so I stopped that. I said, I'm not going on that one any longer. So now this one that I'm actually on, I have infusions twice a year, and I honestly don't think that these are working because I've noticed different things within my body are becoming worse and things like that. So I was meant to go to the neurologist on Monday, however I was asleep, so didn't get to that one. And that's one thing with MS, you have chronic fatigue syndrome as well. Well, I do with my MS, and you kind of sleep a lot. So I slept, and it takes me an hour to get down to where my doctor was, and I hate going to town at the best of times, so it was probably a blessing in disguise because it was at the end of the day, and by the end of the day, I'm better of a morning than I am by lunchtime, and thereafter I start going downhill rapidly. So yeah, that's how it was for me. Anyway, I didn't get to that appointment, so I must change, reschedule another appointment and go back and find out what we're going to do further on down the track. So anyhow, guys, I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight as to what MS is for those of you who are wondering. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll chat to you soon.